Okay. Yeah, we're going to have an open discussion tonight. We'll just go around the room, and anyone feel free to jump in. We're going to go over reviewing the last month's calls. We covered a lot of ground and a lot of different topics, and we also left off with everybody coming up with some ideas and solutions to the present problems that are going on in California specifically. So whoever would like to start, I see Bill's got his hand up.
Hi, I just wanted to touch on something Thomas said the other night. It might have, he puts out a lot of information and things slip by, so I usually listen a couple times. But he was saying there's a bill to where the farmers have to sell their produce at a loss to like Walmarts and the big grocery stores. So if you open a farm and you sell food, or if you open a farm, you are like mandated to lose half, let's say you have to sell half your farm to Walmart, Safeway, whoever else is in there. He only named Walmart, I'm just guessing, like Safeway or whoever else. So you build a farm, half your farm you're losing money on. So, I know part of our discussion has been that we don't want to take away from the farmers. Well, maybe taking that part of the market away from them to where they don't have to lose half their farm because of some government mandated bill to where they have to lose half their crop at a loss. So that, we could have income coming from that, even though we'd probably be losing money. I think the type of farm we're looking at, we're going to be cheaper than a regular farm anyways. But let's say we still lose money, at least we're bringing something in, and we're taking that burden off of the local farmers' shoulders. So I just wanted to throw that out there before we got going today, that there is another way to help the farmers and get us some income back. And as those bills go away, they can have it back, or we can just take over when again, like right now we started getting all our produce from Mexico. So at this point in time we could start selling to whoever, if that's the route we have to take, is to make some money, and just pay the employees or whatever, and build up a little income in case somebody needs a project or help, or whatever we want to agree on to use it for. But that's all I had. I hope I'm coming through clear. I'm driving around, but thanks again, everyone.
Yeah, you're okay, Bill. You just have to unraise your hand. That would be fine. So, Kimberly, how would that work with the farmers? Do you have any idea how that would work with the farmers making any kind of a living from selling their produce with this corporation sold? Do you think that makes a difference?
It could. I mean, I haven't actually been able to take more of a look at it. When Bill was talking, what happens with most of the big ranches and farms, that's why, remember I told you guys half the nuts were still on the ground? Remember that a little bit ago? That's because they're going to go ahead and not sell, and they're going to take a loss, and then they're going to collect the subsidy for it. So back in the day, we used to call it a farm welfare. But the trees that are out in front of me, I have 20 to 30-year-olds, and we have 3-year-olds. The 3-year-olds are only producing maybe 2 handfuls of nuts anyway. So you're always going to have to make a claim on them. They knocked them and swept them. But up in this area, because the bees aren't as proliferate as they used to be, the almonds aren't as good as they used to be. So half that stuff's just getting left. Because if they don't make a quota, then they can claim a subsidy. And that's with nut farmers and some of the vegetable farmers. I mean, if you were told you have to sell to Walmart, if you have to sell to Walmart and you're going to take a loss, what do you think you're going to do? You're not going to do that. You're going to lay half your stuff in the field and then you're going to go ahead and take the subsidy. That's exactly what they're doing.
It's too bad they can't take what's left in the field to do some kind of a charity
I know, they
thing,
don't.
donation thing.
But
I guess they don't get anything back for their labor on that. That's the problem.
No, part of the rule is you have to plow it under.
That's also another way that they're doing their land grabs. If you can remember, this is years ago. I'm going back into the 70s. I was living in San Diego at the time, and up there where Trisha lives, Vista, Escondido, Rancho Penasquitos, I believe, was covered with avocado farms. And this is also the same time when Clinton was doing all those deals with Mexico. I forget what they called it. And they literally stopped the people from bringing their avocados to market. They would just, we used to go up there with baskets, and you could go to any farm, climb over the fence, fill up a basket of avocados that were just laying on the ground, and then never came to market. And instead they let the produce, the avocados come in from Mexico. And it's been like that ever since. I mean, if you go to the store, you don't see any avocados coming from California. They all come from Mexico, South America, and all those farms back then were put out of business, and those people had no choice but to sell their land. And now if you go up there, it's just rolling hills of condominiums and tract homes.
Right. Well, they just ripped out another almond orchard, but what they're doing up here is they're taking out the old heirloom orchards and they're putting in the hybrid orchards. But most of these orchards up in this area are very, very, very old, like 50, 60, 70-year-old trees. So they're hitting way past production, and they just never changed them out. So a lot of the ones, but they're also switching from almonds, because to take care of an almond orchard is about $3,000 per X amount of trees. I can't remember the exact amount, but for almonds, and in comparison to the same amount for walnuts, it's only $1,000. And walnuts right now are going for way more in the store than almonds are. So in their mind, this is how they're looking at it. This is what we're going to do. And they can actually ship the nuts and stuff to different countries. They don't have to. They literally, because they have co-ops and stuff here, right? These guys have giant co-ops. They're not under the same rules as some of the vegetable farmers and stuff. It's a pretty much different ball game for these guys. These guys can write their own tickets. That's one thing that they do. Like every time I go walking in the orchard, I just did it again tonight. The Thule fog was coming in, and I can't see the ground, so all I'm hearing is crunch, crunch, crunch. That's all beautiful, beautiful walnuts that got on the ground that didn't get picked up, and then they turned the sprinklers on them so that they're not edible, because they'll start molding inside. They're not edible now. You can't, no matter what. So nobody could even go out and glean them if you wanted to. So it is what Thomas said, and having grown up in the farms, I know why they're doing it, because they don't want to be told you have to do this, because it would be true. It's very expensive to take care of them. And then if you were telling someone you have to sell them to this store and you're not going to make a profit at all, what would the point be, right? There would be no point. So they'd quickly be out of business. They just wouldn't be doing it. So that's why they're doing it. It just makes you sick when you see all the food, though. when you drive by a big old field of melons and half the melons are still in the field and the other half aren't. It's like, oh, that's such a waste.
Yeah, it is a waste. Thank you, Kimberly. I see that Pam has her hand up.
That's Pam Joni?
I think so.
No?
No, or maybe not. Is the other Pamela Livinati, or is it Pam J who's raising hand? Well, the hand's back down. Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
Oh. I thought I saw a hand raised and next to said Pamela.
Well,
So-
while we have you, Pam, I saw your post on the recall of nuisance. You want to speak on that?
Gaping nuisance? Yeah, that's what we call him. And I live in a small senior community, and we have some buses, and that we use those to go shopping. And so last Monday we went shopping, and there were a couple of people that had already been dropped off at Rouse, and so we were going to pick them up. And I noticed there was a lady there, and she had a recall for gaping nuisance. And so the people got on, and then I got off, and another lady followed me, and then our bus driver got off, and we signed that petition.
So is that just your community, or
Yeah,
do you know how far that reached?
Yeah.
That is the number one problem, you know.
Yeah.
How do we get rid of these guys? Because they're all connected.
Yeah, I mean,
You know.
the election was rigged. Who in their right minds would have voted for that gas tax? And yet, evidently, it passed.
People just don't read things. They don't pay attention. They just do things. They're on automatic. Besides, how do we really know how much of that vote really came from us versus whatever they decided to dump in the slots or whatever?
Right.
I don't trust that. Well, look at what did Tom Fitton find from Judicial Watch? 1.5 million people who had no business being part of the voter rolls or on the voter rolls or something like that. Yeah, it was. They're supposed to clean up, but who's going to be there watching to make sure they clean up the voter rolls?
And I guess a lot of the dead people voted too.
Exactly.
Ridiculous.
Okay, so Pamela has her hand raised again. Is that Pamela Livinati?
That is Pamela Livinati. Thank you. I
Hi,
wanted
Pamela.
to ask Kimberly, with all this, like walnuts that you just mentioned are allowed to fall to the ground and rot, and they're told to plow them under, isn't there any way that they could sneak some people in to pick up all this food before they do that and say that they plowed them under?
Well, it would be ideal if they would, but that's not the mentality. That's not the farmer mentality. So, no, like I said, they just turned water on them, which stops anyone from collecting them. So, there was a window. Excuse me, sorry, I have allergies really bad. There was a window a few days when I could have went out and picked up as many as I could get, but it was just me. He wasn't letting anyone else do it. There's only so many walnuts one person can gather. And there were so many on the ground. It was daunting. It was daunting. I was shocked, and I called my mom, and I was like, have you ever seen this many? They didn't do a second sweep. And she's like, they had to have done a second sweep. And I said, Mom, they didn't. They didn't even do a second sweep. So I don't know what's going on. And that's when I walked out in the field and I could see it. And I was like, oh, man, they went for the subsidy instead.
What would the repercussions be if people just showed up like to pick the melons and walnuts and whatever else that was laying on the ground? What would the farmers do to them? Would they have them arrested or just chase them off? Or
probably. They'd
You might-
probably they probably have law enforcement show up and they just tell you have to go. They're pretty strict about that. I mean, but then there's in the middle of the night when people go out and steal corn, right? And nothing happens to you. Or you go out into the patch and you get the melons and nothing happens to you. You know, there's a certain amount of theft that's going to go on. But it's not usually very much, and it's taken into account. I mean, you just take it into account that that's what happens. But yeah, it was very disheartening to see that this year, and I'm pretty sure this isn't the only orchard that did it or will do it, and maybe who knows next year. I don't know.
So we need farmer Robin Hood, right?
Exactly.
Robin Hood to go out and grab the stuff and give to the poor.
Well, in their mind, if they took it and let everybody have it, then why would they need to sell it? And I'm not saying that's a good mindset. I don't say that I agree with that. I'm just saying that's how I grew up hearing them say. Just like my husband was a journeyman clerk, a stalker. Okay, at Fred Meyer's, they had to dump 20 gallons of milk a night down a locked chute. All the yogurts, everything. It was close to being on outdate. So let's say it's a day or two away from being sold Best Buy. They just throw it down the chute, and nobody could get it. They wouldn't donate it. It had to go in the trash, they said.
Wow.
That's massive waste because people could be eating that. So there's all kinds of waste going on around us.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Oh, I do want to say really quick, because I don't know how long I'll be staying on because I'm really sick. I did go and sign up at a homeless shelter. I'm going to be local because I'm trying to get in to find out what exactly is going on in the scene in the city. It's very difficult, I found out, to get into your local city council to see exactly what's transpiring. And so if I come in through the actual nonprofit homeless shelter, I found out they serve 160 people a day, and 57% of those are children. And that's a pretty huge number, but there's still plenty more people that are on the street. And then the second thing I did was a friend of my son's, she's a teacher, and she works with foster kids. And we were talking, and I was doing a biofield tune-up with tuning forks on her. And we decided that we're starting a curriculum and that we're going to be going to different foster care groups and homes because she's an IEP teacher, and we're going to start giving the kids sessions. We're going to let them lead the sessions. So they're going to be playing with tuning forks, they're going to be learning about their field, and they're going to be learning how they can give themselves a tune-up with singing bowls and the forks themselves. So, because those are severely traumatized kids, heavily traumatized to the point where a lot of them can't go to school. They don't function. They're not functioning very well. Huh?
Why are they traumatized?
Family abuse. So then they get sent from the family away. Apparently, and I didn't know this because I was listening to her and then I went and did my research. The county I live in has one of the highest rates of CPS taking children away in the whole state of California.
Oh, yuck.
Oh, I was shocked. And she said that to me, and I was like, come on, this is a very small area. And she's like, I'm telling you, that's the truth. She's just a nervous wreck. Her nerves are just shot. She said the kids that she has to deal with, the backgrounds are very, very traumatized, and then they get into the system, and there's more trauma there. You know, you get yanked from the only home you know, and even though it's bad, sometimes where you go might be worse. And then you go here and then you go there. She's like, many of them have multiple placements. So multiple traumas. So we decided that if we can get this started, when we get this started, it's going to be like once or twice a month for them so that they can get doing it themselves. The ultimate goal is for them to be able to self-heal themselves. So she was really adamant about getting that started in the new year. So that's all. That's what I've been doing.
Well, that's a lot. Thank you, Kimberly. Wow. That's heavy duty, though. You gotta, that's a brave new world you're in there.
Yeah, I have a soft spot for the kids. So they're our greatest resource. They're our greatest resource. So if we're going to fix this, we have to start fixing our kids. We have to make sure that they can't be traumatized anymore. And I'm going to figure out, and I'm going to probably find out about this CPS stuff going on. Right under my nose it was going on. I had no idea. That was quite the shocker. It was a huge statistic. It was impossibly huge statistic for the area is this small. I guess they're just taking kids right and left from their families here. So
I wonder if they have a quota system of some kind.
that's exactly what I wanted to find out.
Yeah, definitely.
But to get me as an individual to get close to that system, that's not happening. It's so guarded. You can't find hardly anyone who's going to talk to you. So how I can get into the system is to work with the girl and get into the homeless shelter, because the homeless shelter routinely works with the system.
Okay.
So once I find out how all that works, then I can take it from there. I can figure and even the city council is just full of bollocks. It's like you can't. They did that. They have clean needle exchange here. Clean needle exchange, but there's no boxes to put the needles in once you exchange them.
Yeah, crazy.
So everyone's just dropping the needles right to the ground. Straight to the ground. It's like, oh, come on. How do you not think about that, right?
Just common sense.
Thought you'd think so. Okay, I'll let someone else talk. Sorry, guys.
No problem. Okay, Pamela, anything else? You still have your hand raised. I'm just wondering if you had any other comments you want to make right now. Okay, maybe she just.
Pamela Benatti?
Yes, I'm sorry, Pamela Libinati. Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, I forgot to lower my hand.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
I wanted to say something to Kimberly about children going to CPS. Last year, I recently had an experience of my granddaughter, who I've been separated from for 8 years. Her mother was a drug addict and alcoholic, and her boyfriend that she lived with was a drug addict and an alcoholic, and she suffered abuse for 8.5 years before her grandmother, bless her heart, was able to go to the courts, fill out all the paper, get all our signatures of her father, her grandfather, and me, and she finally got custody of her. And it took about a year, and my granddaughter is finally coming around to where she'll talk to people and laugh and play. So I can relate to what Kimberly was saying. Those children really go through a lot. And also my son's fiance worked for a nonprofit, and she worked with clients that were drug addicts and alcoholics. And there were times where the children were abused, and she told me that one time she did have to hand over a child to the CPS. And I mentioned what's going on with the CPS with many people, how they're getting reimbursed with great sums of money of handing these children over to sometimes very abusive, more abusive households. And she was quite shocked. So there are people out there that are doing it that don't realize what they're doing. So I just wanted to share what Kimberly was talking about, that it really goes on, and it's a sad scenario. Thank you.
Thanks, Pam. Yeah, it is. It's a tragic, tragic thing that our children aren't protected. So anybody else have some thoughts? Open to anybody.
Yeah, Kenny here. I wonder if anybody saw my post on THI with that YouTube video, Hell of a Boss, and the other one about the hotel, the hotel, whatever it was.
Not yet.
I saw it.
Catching up.
Yeah, YouTube videos. I mean, there was only like a split-second warning, adults only on it, and it was a cartoon. You can do a search for Hell of a Boss, 2 words, on YouTube, and you'll come to the cartoons and the other links to the other cartoons that are of satanic kids cartoons. They're not blocked by YouTube. They should be blocked because the content is swearing. There's 4-letter words. They've got cartoons of an altar with infants on them cutting off limbs. It's pretty effing gnarly. If y'all want to search and get the awareness out there and hammer YouTube for this is an extreme violation of human rights. Your foundation on that would be Executive Order 13223, signed by President Trump, 21 December 2017. State that in writing or state it over the phone. It's for extreme human rights abuse or collusion, and that will shut them down.
Yeah, we're coming upon that deadline. I don't know if anyone saw the post I put up about YouTube on or before December 10th. We'll be deleting many channels. I think Thomas even talked about it on the show with Jim. So we're coming upon that. It should be interesting. I contacted Michael J. Not that we've been on YouTube that long, but be interesting to see if they delete Tommy's YouTube channel. Anyone talking truth, they can expect to be deleted from YouTube, especially if they haven't monetized their channel.
Well, there's not too much on YouTube these days that are worth looking at, from my opinion. I got a couple of failed safes I go to that, I found this one on Sergeant or whatever it is. I forget his name, the name of the channel. But I posted on THI. Maybe I'll put another link on THI, but it's pretty gnarly. But that executive order I've used numerous times, at 13223. And that just shuts them right down. So the kids are being bombarded by this stuff. I mean, it's really gnarly, and that's about all I got to say about that. Anybody wish to talk about or know any more about the corporation Soul?
I don't know that anybody over the holiday probably had time. I think Kimberly was involved with it, but she had to leave. She wasn't feeling well. Sean, unless Sean
Tricia,
knows.
And Kosin.
And I don't see Kosin, so unless Sean knows something.
Yeah, Sean's on the call. You available, Sean?
And maybe he had to pop out.
Yeah, that's what tonight was about, discussing possible solutions to all the problems that we were talking about last month, and seeing if we could come to a decision on the nonprofit status, so that we can continue moving forward.
In the meantime, Tricia provided that list of the community garden information, and I just posted that. I got a little late getting that done, but I got that posted, and you're going to post that on Facebook, and you're going to put it on the website. You said, Jim?
I sent it to the email that Michael provided. It might not be posted yet or uploaded yet, but it will be eventually.
He doesn't wait too long to get this stuff done. He's good about that. Well, I just posted my first draft. I posted a draft of Tricia talking to Susan Hoband, I think, or Hobmand or something like that, Denmark. and her gardening tips and how they work their community garden and what they do there in Denmark. And so little by little, we're going to get some stuff built up on the website, but we need content. We need ideas on what people want, and we need people's what they're interested in, what they want to get posted, and guarantee December 10th, we will not cut you off. Promise. Isn't that ridiculous? I mean, it's just incredible to me that they set up this platform for years, and the only thing that we're going to monitor was if anybody put in proper content, such as things that weren't proper, that were ugly or bad language or porn or whatever it was. It was going to be that kind of thing. But now, unless you make them money, they don't want any part of you. But they also, like you said, Jim, you're going to tell the truth. They don't want that either. That's really their excuse. Forget about the monetizing thing. The big excuse is just so they can cut off people telling the truth. Well, we'll find a way. We'll find a way to do it.
Never mind me. Sean. Sean's got his hand up. Welcome back.
Hi, Sean.
You have to unmute, Sean.
I'm here. I mean, I'm doing my best. The guy I'm in charge of taking care of, he had these ischemic strokes going on continually, and finally talked the guy into going to the hospital. So I'm getting a little break, and I'm sick and worn out. Humans are heavy. And anyway, but back to I didn't mention this because I like to listen and learn what other people are figuring out, especially if it's something that you asked me if I knew what that kind of trust was. I don't even remember the name of it. A corporate soul, SOLE. And
Corporation Soul.
Yeah. Well, with these common law type trusts, that's the elitist tool, and if you're not in their club, well, you can get in a lot of trouble. But if you're not making much of a profit, you're flying under the radar, and we should be okay with that, because I can't think of a better solution than what Tricia and Kimberly came up with. It's great.
We just have to figure out what steps are needed to make it happen, get it started, and make sure we know any loopholes or what have you, right?
Yeah, and the huge loophole and the number one is flying under the radar by not showing much of a profit, which shouldn't be a problem, since what we want to do is just give away the produce and any other kind of commodities that we can to help people, and then be able to make payroll, and that should fly under the radar with a few bucks over minimum wage. Treat them good, $5 over minimum wage, something, so they benefit too. But that should fly under the radar pretty darn good.
Well, a big piece of this is going to be organizing exactly what we'll do with that corporation soul.
Yeah.
Do we want to work with other farms? Do we want to set up our own? Do we want to set up some new community gardens? Do we want to, what do we want to do? How do we want to organize it? What kind of facilities we're going to need?
Yeah.
Who's going to run things? There's a great deal to think about.
Excuse me. Yeah, a great deal to think about it. And I love Kimberly's idea about how to be doing the payroll. That's under the radar. And the one that's very similar to barter, I'm sorry, I'm so exhausted, I don't remember the name of it.
I think it was time banking.
Time bank.
Yeah, I love that idea. So yeah, I think that the two of them have just came up with excellent solutions. wow. Proud to know him, kind of. Well, at least over Zoom anyway.
Well, Tricia might be on, and yeah, she knew the most about the corporation soul, and she also said that there wasn't too many places where you could find out information about that. So we'll have to wait on Tricia coming on.
Okay, well, Jim, I've got some information when you're ready. This is Kenny.
Go ahead, Ken.
Okay, it's a corporation soul. While a week or two ago wasn't so visible, now a search on the internet, it's showing up now on Wikipedia and also on another website, two or three or more. The other one's Hush Money. The other one's Forbes. They match pretty much with what's being said as far as confirmations. A quick bunch of history is a product of ancient Roman civil law. By 250 BC, Rome had perfected corporation include all legal attributes, and by 6 AD, the corporation is codified, which is probably still in the law. When you go into court or when you're filling it out, it's codified into Roman civil law, which is the ecclesial law, which is admiralty law, which we have now is known as Corpus Juris Civilis. And we'd have to write that in italic. It was Roman Catholic Church appropriated for the bishops, and the Pope started out originally as a corporation soul as a single person. It is not passed on to heirs. It is passed on to successors, which were usually bishops within the church. The other information here I'm finding out is quite interesting is not only the Roman Catholic Church continues to use corporation soul in holding titles of property as recently as 2002, it split a diocese in the U.S. state of California into many smaller corporation soul, and with each parish priest becoming his own corporation soul, thus limiting the diocese's liability for any sexual abuse or other wrongful activity in which the priest might engage. This is, however, not the case everywhere where the legal application varies. But there's multiple levels. It also goes off to royals, England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, Republic of Ireland. A Roman Catholic bishop is not a corporation soul, and real property is held by a land of trust there. But this is largely due to the suppression of Roman Catholicism, which began in England with Henry VIII, and of course the successful English Reformation and Ireland and penal laws. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or the Mormons, also use corporation soul for its president, which is legally listed as the Corporation of the President of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. That's current. Iglesia Ni Cristo was registered as a corporation soul with the insular government in the Philippines in 1914, and the People's Republic of China, the denomination was also registered as corporation soul in 2014. CIA, the form of corporation soul form can serve the needs of a very small church or religious society as well as large diocese by reducing the complexity of the organization into a single office and its holder being one natural human being. The need for bylaws is eliminated, and the pastor or church overseer of the society is then not obligated to deal with a board of directors. So that's some interesting information. It was stated back in, 1914, 8th edition, Bulwer's Law, which is the actual law. You don't go by Black's law. That's a trap. Bulwer's Law, Bouvier, Law Dictionary, 8th edition, 1914. A judge stated that the conception of corporation soul is passing out of American law, but that is not true from what I've found. So there's some good info that just a couple of weeks ago wasn't out there. I don't know, maybe I made a mistake, but couldn't find it as readily as I can find it now. So it's there if you want to search.
Very good, Ken. Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic job, Ken. Wow.
Yes, thank you. You have links you can share with us, and so we can get all that, please.
Yeah. Is everybody ready to copy?
Yeah.
It might be
I am.
easier if you could post it on the THI California. Could you do that for us? Because then it would
Yeah.
just be simpler.
Yeah, I'm presently not on there, but as we're talking, I'll go back to that and log
yeah.
on and put it on California.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be
Thank
right
you.
this minute. That's when you get a chance.
Yeah, I can
great.
do that.
Fascinating.
Fantastic. Thank you. It looks like Estella has posted something here in chat. I don't know if not everybody has access to chat, but I see she's put some stuff. You found some things then.
I found in the IRS, and then I found one is the Ticket for Freedom and Personal Sovereignty. It's a website that tells them bullets, the positive, the negative, and also the IRS tells you the steps, what to do. But the two links I put and I found the same thing what Ken said. A lot of websites are talking now about this corporate soul.
Okay, very good. I'm going to copy this too, and I can share and Ken will share. So this is good.
No, just so everybody knows, along with the possible deletion of the YouTube channel, which, like I said, we just got on YouTube as far as New Earth, California. It's only been a month, but it wouldn't surprise me if it was deleted. Along with, as everybody knows, Thomas has a YouTube channel where his Thursday shows are uploaded weekly. So in case that does take place, I searched out some alternate platforms and sent it over to Michael to take a look at. There are alternate channel or platforms that we can put our information on other than YouTube. And with that said, there is a possibility that we also could be getting off Facebook. I put a post on Facebook explaining that there might be a need for us to do that, because Facebook's playing a lot of funny games too. But that's yet to be seen. If it does come down to that, we've also searched out other platforms, such as, well, we could all simply move over to MeWe. That's one situation. And then there's another similar site called Float, which is very private. And I sent that over to Michael also, along with a couple of browsers that I searched out that are very private. And Michael sent this information on to Thomas, so we're just waiting to get some feedback from Thomas on all of this. But don't be surprised if this takes place in the near future. Just wanted to mention that. Demi,
Yeah.
I see you have your hand raised.
On what you were saying, I just want to bring up actually what I'm doing, which is I call Linkbox, is designed for this specific problem. And while I've been working on it steadfastly, I haven't been working with a huge push, but it is now at the point where I hope to be releasing the first version. And what this is, it's a means of combining everything together into a single platform. And so you can see It has a directory structure or a folder structure which you create, and you add content to these directories. So anything you want to put in there, you can, and so it can take references from all over the internet and combine them into a single area, let's say under a directory, which then can be displayed in any number of ways. You know, as you see on YouTube, you have the YouTube format. You can have all different kinds of formats. So this will enable content to be stored not by something like YouTube or any of the others, but anywhere you want to put it online. And it could be any spot on the internet, and you could create your own mini server and put it off of that. So you'll never have to rely on any single point that has control over content. You will have control over where you put your content, and it will be displayed in a way that is very similar to YouTube. And so it unites, if you get something, let's say, from BitChute and DTube and Vimeo and YouTube, and you could put them, you have them spread out all over those platforms, you could pull them together in one single area on this, which would unite them all together, and you wouldn't really have to worry about where they sit. You could just see it and view it and operate them and look at them as they would otherwise exist on those platforms. So it's kind of hard to explain, but I'm probably going to do a very good job. But anyway, this is why I created this thing, just because of what you're describing, because I hate this kind of censorship. So it's kind of, in a way, I haven't been really pushing real hard on it, but I kind of am glad I've done the work I have, because if this is continuing, and I think it will be, then this is kind of an option. So I just want to put this out there, and I will let you know as soon as it's ready for the first viewing, which is going to be shooting for the first of the year. Anyway, let you know.
Hey, it might not be a bad idea to shoot that information off to Michael, and let him take a look at it also.
Okay.
Like I said, I go through him to have Thomas take a look at these things. I don't want to make any decisions for our group without Thomas's consent. So it might be a good idea to. You created that yourself.
Yeah, I created the platform, and so everyone can go in there and create their own. I don't call them channels. I call them sites. And
so
the information site.
And, the information that's going to be posted or uploaded on there, the general public will also be able to view.
Oh boy, at this point, I haven't decided, because if I start, there's some things to think about, because this has potential for being really badly misused as well. So I'd only considered it to be public and left out the idea of groups. But I will consider this, because that could be very important, and especially if there's a legitimate group. But it can be done any way I want, ultimately. So, but anyway, to kind of let you know, it's in progress, and it's getting close to the final, or the first rollout. So then I'll be able to get your feedback, and then, of course, I appreciate everyone's feedback. Who wants to give it to me?
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, this is Kenny. Real quick before somebody jumps in, I posted 4 links there on the California PHI, IRS, and the other 3. Let's see. And the other thing is I know there's a few YouTube channels that are getting they use comedy for a description of their channel. In other words, not where it says subject matter of this channel instead of education, or there's a number of, if you use comedy, I think lawfully you can get away with it, like Robin Williams did for many years.
Probably George Carlin, too.
Yeah, just a thought.
Yeah.
The other thing is, if you make your own videos on an MP4, whatever you make them on, or Apple format, if you join MeWe, you can put it on MeWe. Somehow, maybe Thomas would have to go for that. You know, a public access, extremely firewalled MeWe variant where we make our own videos with our own cameras in a MOV form, .mov or .mp4, and post them on a variant of MeWe.
So for the time being, is there anyone that has a problem with going over and signing on to the MeWe page? If it comes down to it and we have to leave Facebook?
I'm already there.
Right.
Yeah, not a problem.
So,
I think it's like 50% of us are on MeWe. Percentage of us are on both. But the majority is on Facebook, but not too many participate.
Right.
From the Facebook group. So that could be another way of getting our group back down to a core group.
yeah, absolutely. I agree with you, Jim. That means if we close THI California on Facebook, they suddenly go to try to go there and say, "Wait, what happened? What happened?"
Yeah.
So, well, hey, if you were a regular visitor and participating, you would have known. We announced long before we closed that down that we were moving to MeWe. That would be it. Hey, Debbie, I'm glad to see you. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Hi, Phyllis.
Hi, Debbie. It's Sean. How are you,
Hi,
honey?
Sean. I'm good. You know, I just realized I think it's Ken's number is divisible by 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, Deborah.
Hi. Man, Demi, wow, girl. My God, that's awesome. This group does not take it slow. I mean, wow, rock and roll, you guys. I wouldn't mind talking about what I'm working on when we got the time.
Well,
Go right ahead.
go ahead.
Yeah, do it.
Well, I've just been talking to my realtor friend around here in Boulder Creek and asking her about agricultural lands. They're like, it doesn't sound like there's anything free, and it's amazing what the water company owns. But there are some really fabulous plots of land, not cheap, under $1 million, but and there's a Boy Scout camp that was for sale. I got to find out with her if it still is, but it's an interesting one because it's way up high. It takes a half an hour to get from downtown to it, and it's still in Boulder Creek. It's right next to Big Basin, and it's really the kids go up there like once a year, and there's it's really got a lot of barracks, and there's rumors. Yeah, so we have Lockheed right here too, next to Big Basin up in Boulder Creek, and it is very, very, very secretive there. So there, people think that there might be tunnels between the Boy Scout camp and that, but if it actually is for sale, which I doesn't seem realistic now, but I did see it up a few years ago. That would be a great place for homeless, to be able to do something with that and get, a start-off base to get them, launched off into their lives, whichever direction they're going to go. I see a lot of great, there's mushroom farmers, hydroponic things. There's people that want to share, a mentor, and, that are already set up to make big groups, to spread farming all over the place. One thing that I have found here in Boulder Creek, in the Santa Cruz Mountains, we got a lot of growers, and there's nobody doing anything with the stalk, the hemp. And it would be a great reason to actually have, ruderalis hemp growing. I've been kind of rolling around the idea of pulling together a hemp manufacturing company, so that, that's a resource that gets used. There's so many things that can be done with it. And I know some amazing people that my son's brother-in-law, he was the VP of Del Monte Foods, and they just laid him off because their profit was only like 20% increase for the year. But for them, that meant, like over $800 million for the year. So anyway, I know some just amazing people that, could be our chief human resources, our chief financial officers, our VP. I'm loving the time bank thing too. So I'm introverted. So getting out is, well, it's a job. And it's been very interesting talking to the people around me. And, there's a lot of things that are all set up and ready to go in case there's an emergency, that, our local radio station. And, we're having some interesting things too here with homeless, kind of parking on very busy areas, parking their stuff, and like making borders around it, like, nobody, this is mine, this is mine. You're gonna walk on the street to get around me. And actually, that kind of thing only lasts like one day, and the sheriffs are in and moving them on. But it's, wow, it's big. I was in the coffee shop this morning, and there was a fellow who'd been there for hours, and he was asked to leave. He's homeless. He goes in there and he just sits. He doesn't buy anything. He just, it's warm. It's raining out here.
Does anybody ever buy him a cup of coffee or anything, or buy him anything, or they just ignore him?
We chatted a little bit, but I didn't know that was the situation until he got kicked out. Yeah, so obviously they're not offering him food. And I think that's a good thing to talk to the owner about. And I mean, like everybody in town, what do we do? It would be nice if we found a way to feed them, but then, how many people would show up too?
No, that is an issue. Debbie, you've given me an idea, and I'm looking for content for the website. So what about some of these people you're meeting, some of these situations you're learning things about? Maybe you don't want to vocalize them, that you say introvert, whatever, but that's fine. No, that's okay. But could you write something up? I could help do a little edit on it. Maybe we could post some of your stuff up on the website. What do you think?
That's a great idea, Phyllis, because I have been making notes.
Sure.
Yeah, I've been.
I'd be happy to.
Yeah, trying to organize it, and I've been meaning to get onto the spreadsheet and start popping these people and things into, wherever. See what I haven't actually studied it yet, and I don't know. Well, yeah, okay. So you and I can work on something to put onto the website.
I'd be happy to do that because we need to get awareness out there, and we need to, rather than just hold these ideas, we need to share. We need to, and you never know what you're going to develop from some ideas you're going to come up with. And as you're creating, the creative process builds on itself.
Part of the reason I've been making these notes is because I've been trying to think of how I could present it on our neighborhood Facebook group, and start getting people, talking about, who would like to do horizontal hydroponic farming, who would like to do mushrooms, who knows how to make batteries, and capacitors. So yeah, thanks, Phyllis. That's awesome. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we've got to do that kind of thing. The more, the better. The more, the merrier, or whatever.
Yeah, it'd be good to have some good things happening.
And I want some recipes from you too, Pam J.
Okay. My sons are also very good cooks now. They bring over goodies at Thanksgiving, and we had a good meal. And of course, it's all vegan.
That's fine.
Uh-huh.
We can do vegan. We could do whatever. We're flexible.
It might be a good time to remind everybody, based on what Debbie was saying, and I've heard Debbie talk about this in the past about wanting to bring in others into the group. And I want to remind everyone, if you haven't seen the original guidelines for the state groups, you can go to the tpc.org website and read Thomas's original guidelines. And it specifically states that when the reason he started with states is because there's too many counties and there's too many communities to be able to have a THI group, let's say, in every county in America. What is there? 30,000 or 3,000 counties?
Yeah, right. Oh, well over 3,000.
So that's why he started it with state groups, because there's only 50. And we don't even have all of them filled. But the point I'm trying to make is in the guidelines, it specifically states that once a group reaches a certain amount of people, let's say 50, the guidelines state that at that point, the group is to drop Facebook and start their own website. And then they'll be able to spread out into counties first, and then ultimately into local communities. So we're already there. We have our website. It's all set up, ready. It's available for anybody who wants to go look at it, or anybody that wants to put information on there, such as Debbie's talking about. And so it seems like the most important thing that we need to do right now is to finalize the nonprofit situation, whether it be Corporation Soul connected with Time Bank or 501c3. It seems like that's where we're at right now. And I think once we do that, can simply contact Thomas and say, we want to exit the THI banner and be put under the People's Club, so that we can use that for proposing our individual projects and general project in the future. But then we can spread out into the counties. And it sounds to me like from a lot of people, you already have a lot of people that would be interested in getting on board with this. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
I see Estella has her hand up.
Yeah.
Hi. I don't know to put the video. What I've been seeing with all the laws and everything is cumbersome. Like, instead to be profitable or to have something good for the state, always is like a destructive. Like what they were sharing with the agriculture, the agriculture, so for the farmers. And that you could see in everything. And we live in a state that say it is green and sustainable, but it's not. And what we're trying to do is the core of sustainability. Look at what the people do, the skills, and use it for good, for abundance for everybody. And I think having a really good vision or idea that empower all those, you know, the individual, because could go from the fashion designer to the small gardener, and people would be interested to see an alternative to do business, like maybe they were saying, you know, in the different bardo system, but it's not. If we find the loops to really create abundance, because what we have is a complete limitation over the head, and people get discouraged, and like the farmer throw the fruit on the water instead to give it to someone who's hungry. And that's not the nature of being human. It's kind of funny, someone told me a story about the stone soup, that a guy was in Italy, everybody during the war, and everybody, once they have carrots, the other had potatoes, and he had nothing, and so he, in the middle of the plaza in the town, he put the container with fire and water and some stones, and people curious came, and suddenly everybody was contributing a little bit and make a soup. And that's how humans are, because we have a soul and we have a heart, and we don't think like corporations. And I think something is strong that people make you really, you know, choose to say, I don't want this, what I'm living right now. I want something different. And I don't know, it's in my head, like that real sustainability, that, you know, that you use your resources in a rational way. You're not gonna throw a plate of food on your table, you're gonna give it to someone who is hungry. And I don't know, it's just, it's a crime, you know, like the other way of not caring. That's why we are in the situation we are, and people don't talk, and people don't do nothing, and people accept that the food is 3 times the price. And so I'm kind of bug about that. So I look at the soul, and is based on, I don't know if I understand it right, based on religion and churches and religious group. They use that to do what they want to do, but they are not even honest with good intention. So everybody used the system for corruption. So, and that's the big no for me. Whatever I want to do, I want to do it with integrity. That's why I came in this group. So I think having the content, if we're able to put simple things from the heart, that we're trying to create this, where all these gifts that people have and work they do, to be able to find a different channel where it could be exchange, donate, even companies give donation to us. They get the tax deductible, but we can use it for a good purpose. It could be the homeless, or it could be the kids, like I think it was Kimberly talking about that. And the kids this week came, and everybody, I'm part of other groups. I think it's in the field, like the kids are important, and at all levels. Like the lady, she talked about education, about it. So I think if we have a very important, we are humans. That's the difference of the law. It's dehumanization. We are humanization. We are empowering what we have as a resources, as a human resources, and the planet. And we know it's a lie, the climate. We know it's a lie, the scarcity, and we have to change that. And that's when I just want to say that it's what bothers me, you know. Everything is distorted, And I think the word integrity brings there is no distortion there. It's real and it's countable and it's something tangible that we can use. So that was my little speech.
That was a good speech.
Thanks,
That's
Estella. Is Kimberly still on the call?
No, she had to get off. She wasn't feeling well.
And
She
and there was
chatted.
a guy from the speak pro.
Estella, there's a problem.
Your volume cut out.
Well, this is Kenny. Then, if Estella is trying to get her stuff together, if the corporation's soul is so dark right now, why not bring some light into it? I mean, if it's too polarized to the dark, put some light in there. If it works out, it's my humble opinion.
Yep. I think Kimberly would agree with you on that one, Ken.
Go ahead, Sean.
There it goes. Now it's unmuting. First off, thank you for the fantastic things that you're doing, Demi, and we're lucky to have you. I didn't get my mute unmuted, but yeah, back to that trust. I'm worried about the religiosity element in there. You know, elder of the church. What do we have to do? Start our own church, the Holy Fellowship of Wonder Bread or something, just to be able to do this?
Sean, so excuse me, Sean, your sound is a little bit faded. It isn't as loud as it was a little earlier.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just lost you.
You have to unmute and talk into your mic.
Okay, how's that? A little better?
Yeah, talk into your mic.
Okay. Yeah, I don't even know where it is on his laptop. But anyway, yeah, fantastic job, Demi, and we're lucky to have you. And then also, I'm afraid, yeah, just like Ken was saying, bring some light into this thing, because it sounds like it's got all kinds of religious verbiage in it that, you know, if you're not a bona fide church, I don't know if we can use it. And I'll have to read through it, and I may not even get an answer that way, but I'll try. But also, very importantly, I wanted to bring this in. It's to be able to fly under the radar, so there's not a great deal of payroll. Whatever the Mana Trust purchases, then we just go with the great plan that Kimberly had discovered on the internet about doing the payroll that way. And that might help quite a bit. And then also, Willa was called me to. She had been watching the programs, and I needed a new computer, so she called me up, and that didn't work out. But it just wasn't what I needed. But I believe by now it's related to a family thing, and I won't go into that. I don't know much anyway. She's in Arizona. She will be joining us. And I guess it's just not going to be tonight, but she's doing well. And then I guess that's about it. But Debbie Durham, yeah, or anybody, give me a call once in a while. I need to talk to some sane people. This like crazy bipolar roommate. Thank God he's in the hospital. Sorry. Hallelujah. I mean, I didn't mean to say that, but shoot. It's giving me a break, let me tell you. Humans weigh too much, and when they have accidents all over, he's just stuck up my entire existence, let me tell you. And now I got to go to battle judges and courts in the county to get paid. But I'll let that go. I'll get into a rant. Don't get me started. So I'm going to mute. It's wild.
Sean, I'll call you late tomorrow morning.
Oh, fantastic.
Cool. It'll be fun.
Yeah, you too, Pam J.
Oh,
I
okay.
always like talking to you.
No, that's Debbie.
Yeah, and Pam J too. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, who's the, yeah, it's written down as Pamela, Pam J. Pam Joni.
They did that.
And there's a note on there saying that Pamela, the other ones, are gonna Zoom call to her nickname Penny in order to eliminate confusion. That's nice of her. She's a sharp gal too. Wow. Yeah, never ceases to amaze me, the quality here. And you guys make my week. Really.
I can go along with that one.
Me too.
Yeah. Well,
It's nice to talk to people who know what's going on. You don't have to explain everything.
oh, yeah. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's real easy to get down in the dumps on a lot of this stuff, and boy, we're a good support system for each other.
yeah.
So
True. We need it.
So how about we turn what appears to be a bad thing into a good thing? And I'm talking about, that's why I asked if Kimberly was still on. What if we were to get a list of these farms that are choosing to subsidize, is that the word?
Yes, they're taking the subsidy instead of doing something useful with the crops.
So how do we get a list of those farms that are being given subsidy and letting their nuts, fruits, vegetables, whatever it is, fall off the vine, fall off the tree, and just rot? So if we get a list and we approach those farmers in every different area that we're from, if we approach these farmers and instead of going onto their property and just taking their stuff, like what was proposed earlier, if we were to contact them and ask them directly if they would be willing to let us come in and pick up the fruit or whatever it is that's on the ground, and haul it away and take it to, specific co-ops or whatever it is that we can set up in different communities, at least to get it to people. We don't even have to sell it; just give it to them.
Sounds like a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I was wondering if Kimberly, anybody have an idea of how we could get a list of those farms?
Well, it sounds like Kim knows that area and that business for a long time. Her mother was involved, and so she'd probably be a good choice. And, the idea of just collecting it to give it away, so I think the farmers would get a little worried because they need their subsidy, and there's probably a lot more to this than we don't know yet. But I think if it were to be given away, I don't think there'd be a problem if that could be done. It would seem a lot easier just to give it away, saying, we're not going to sell it. You don't get any profit off of this. We don't get any profit. We're just going to give it away. That might work. I don't know. But Kim would know a lot more than probably certainly me.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if the government makes it illegal for them to give us food to give to other people.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah, I considered that also.
And also, by compiling a list like that, the business stuff's pretty on the private, on the down low. I don't suppose we could get any information out of the IRS, but it would be an expensive list, and the growing season's pretty much over. I think I don't know. It could rot on the ground before a list could be compiled. But then there's next year or, next spring. That's not all that far off. So it's a great idea, huh, Jim? Great idea.
Next spring is barely over 3 months away, right?
Yeah, because that would give us time to find a list company. I don't think it'd be cheap though. Boy.
I could send a note off to Kimberly and see if she knows anything else that she could share on that.
Yeah. Jim, can I ask you a question?
Shoot.
How are you? How is your on, my friend?
How's what?
How is your physical thing going with the equilibrium? How are you?
Oh, I haven't had a bout with that in a couple months.
Wow. Okay.
Ever since everyone sent me that information, and the thing that helped most was the videos that you sent, and Bort Schrader sent it to me.
Yeah.
And whenever somebody gives me a gift like that, I take advantage of it. And I was using those techniques daily. 2 or 3 times a day I was doing it. And like they said, eventually, it in the beginning, it didn't seem like it was helping, but before I knew it, I woke up and it was gone. I don't have the ringing in the ear anymore, and haven't had one of those vertigo attacks, which was the real problem. That literally takes you off your feet, and just disappeared.
Wow. So it helped with tinnitus too?
It helped my tinnitus too. I haven't had any ringing in the ear, and I was waking up with it every day. Pretty bad.
Yeah, I have it. I'm kind of tired of it.
You're still having it?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, I hadn't gone through that program.
You definitely want to use that video you sent me. Definitely do it yourself.
Yeah. No,
it works, and it's very easy to do.
What is the name of that guy? I want to write it down because it's lost in YouTube land, or they probably took it off because it was good.
I have it. I'll send it to you.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. And somehow or another, it may take a while, but those things, somebody has a problem and I make a little mental commitment to find out the proper information, and somehow it comes to me in, anywhere from a day to a couple of weeks, and it seems to work like a charm. I mean, it just comes to me. I don't know why. I guess somebody likes me who's, I don't know. But
seek and you shall find, correct?
Yeah, right.
Tommy says that the information started coming to him because I guess he was ready to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
He shares it with us.
Yeah, it's been doing that for me for years. And when I was really pretty beat up physically, and I was living in this Section 8 place where disabled people go, and I was walking down the sidewalk, just going for a walk, and there's a gal in a wheelchair. She's really suffering. I talked to her a couple of times, and her friend's there standing there next to her. And, hey, hon, how are you? How are you? Blah, blah, blah. And so what's going on? And she goes, my neck's killing me, and a doctor hasn't been able to fix it for 2.5 years. And I said, I'll fix it. And it'll take just about 3 minutes. And I did. It blew her mind. She had been suffering for so long. I had to adjust her one more time beyond that, but stuff comes to me. And shoot, I ought to know a little bit about it by now. But it comes to me. They call it like wisdom. Some people like to call it that. But no exaggeration. It does. It has happened to me more than a few times.
All you got to do is ask.
Yeah.
Ask for guidance. Ask for wisdom.
Yeah.
What are you going to get?
Well, Yeah, that's why I don't ask Jesus. I don't want to get stuck with church. So yeah, I just put it out there, you know. Yeah.
You mean Radomir, right? Is that the Jesus you're talking about, Radomir?
I don't know if he existed either. I just ask spirit or all the souls, all the energy. You know, I need an answer to this, and I get it. I've pulled some people out of some really horrible stuff, and it just comes to me what to do. Essential oils, a chiropractic type adjustment, and lotions, and took this one gal. She hadn't spoke to her husband and son for 2.5 years, and then they're all reunited again. But she had every rib on the right side of her rib cage out, hugely out. And I had an adjustment that did that for me. And so I just remembered what he did. And oh, yeah, they all just went all at once, man. Well, all in succession. And then I got a vertebrae that was stuck about 1/2 inch out of her, you know, pinching off her brainstem and cutting her circulation. And
Wow.
thank God for the essential oils that I had to calm her down and everything. And then I'm taking a break going, oh my God, what did I just do? So then I go upstairs and they're all hugging and kissing and talking. And they're going, thank you for bringing my mom back. You know, that kind of thing. It just comes. It does. I have to be careful about it, not to be fooling myself into thinking I can do things I can't. But it's kind of a rush that comes through me. And so I just do it when I have that. If I don't have that rush, feeling the energy, you know, through my hands, I don't do it. I'll ask for an answer, though. And then
Can I talk a little bit about this?
Sure, please. Maybe I can learn something. Please.
Okay. You brought a subject is very important, because we know religion makes the people look toward the church and put the power into the church.
Yeah.
So what you're experiencing is connection to your spirit, your soul.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And each human, each body that we have a soul. But depends on the context of how your life. Some people got connected, some people didn't. And a lot of people get sick or go into addiction because they don't have that connection to the soul. The education is to indoctrinate, so you never follow your inner voice. You need to follow the law, you need to follow the government. You never use the law. Humans were created in this planet to co-create, to collaborate between each other by using their own knowledge coming within, with this connection to your creator or God or the force of life can give you, and it's your voice.
Oh, I know. I've had thousands and thousands and thousands of hours studying this, and here's the development of it. I have a lucky charm to be able to help people.
Well, I'm gonna
usually can, but if I don't feel the rush through my hands, I don't do it.
And what this is connected to what Thomas has been talking about, the history of religion and this and that. But the truth is inside you, and you don't need to follow nobody. You just follow your own truth, and you collaborate and you serve, giving that love to others, because you're giving from your inside out it's the unconditional love, because it makes you happy. When you find a purpose in life, you're happy because you're serving, you're helping others. And this is not indoctrination, it's not religion, it's just the natural flow of the universe. Earth also has their own cycles, and the trees grow, they give their fruit and their share. The plants give us their fruit. The animals give us like the Native Americans, they honor the animals when they give them meat. It was a completely different understanding of this concept, not going and taking, is honoring and receiving. And I think the whole point of us is returning to the natural way of being humans with the heart and with the soul, where everybody has something to give and is shared. And they put us so many belief systems to like, oh, that's socialism. No, it's not socialism. It's not communism. It's just the natural way of the human. The musician shares the songs. The artist will share the painting. The woman who knows to cook shares the food. And we notice that with YouTube. That's how YouTube started. So that's the beauty and the abundance that the human race has. And this is what we have to adopt, And trust yourself, because everybody's special. Everybody has a gift.
Everybody has that innate healing ability within them.
Yeah.
They just not everybody knows how to unlock it.
Yeah, and to find that love inside and that trust, because the moment you find that, you're a completely different person. You have your power inside. You don't need any longer to look for things to feel something, your existence. Anyway.
Yeah, I don't know what would have happened to me if I didn't go find out about all this stuff back in the 80s. I mean, because wow, was it ever tough. And I asked, I want to know how everything works. Darn it. And that's where it started. Yeah. But yeah, the soul.
I think you have to eliminate all distractions.
Yes.
I have to admit, I learned the most I've learned in my experience, and the most knowledge and information I've gathered in my experience is when I was homeless, houseless.
Mm.
I mean, think about it. I had no distractions whatsoever. No bills, no phone. I used to, I always made sure I had a place to sleep that was, could have been anywhere, depending on where I was. I'd find a place that would rent me a bed or a room for a week, and then I'd wake up every morning, and I'd go out, and I'd either go to the bookstore, and I'd sit there and read for hours. All you had to do was buy a cup of coffee; they wouldn't bother you. Like Borders or any place like that. And if it wasn't that, I'd be in a cafe listening to THI's information. I have to admit, in the whole time that I've been in these groups, I have never ever missed one show or one call, ever. And I remember telling everybody there were times where I just took off and went up into Yosemite for the whole summer and just hiked and camped. And I still never missed a show. I always had an iPad with me, and I would plan on being in, let's say, Yosemite Valley. They had cafes that you could get to, where they had Wi-Fi. And I'd be able to listen to, back then it was Drake's Cosmic Voice, and then Tommy's shows. I remember getting on the chat rooms and telling people I'm sitting here in Yosemite. And I'm serious. I really think people need to eliminate all the distractions in their lives as much as possible. That's really when you You get the downloads, and the information just comes pouring through.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
because look
Yeah,
what we're
speaking of
look
which,
at what we're surrounded by. You know.
Mhm.
yeah.
I
Wow.
think
I don't know about you guys. Oh, go ahead, please.
no,
Estella, you've been waiting for a while, I think.
because
Somebody else go.
well, we have to see whatever is happening for a reason. So if YouTube suddenly vanish, there is a reason. So we take the positive side. So I truly believe we have to see everything that happened in a positive. It's like this is what I learned recently. You know, the yin yang, but in reality it's not yin yang. It's the forces of the universe, you know, that show something that happening, but then something good happen from that. So we always can transform whatever is there. And that's how I think we need to have the approach. There is always a solution for everything. And we have to become master of that, because when you are connected to that soul, you find solutions. And the abundance comes from the infinite. And we are infinite.
And it's our responsibility to stay tapped in.
Yes, and I think that's the core subject of this meeting, is to understand that having that soul, we have the answers within, and we sit in this space to collaborate together and start to bring things and focus on that, because the moment we put that integrity and open heart to really serve, to bring good, we're going to manifest. And we need to understand, I don't know if everybody understands this, but we live in a holographic universe. I don't know if that's too much to explain, but this is how it works. The whole old system surrounds us with negativity and limitations. So we got accustomed to live under the gun of the limitations and scarcity. But the moment you separate, you are able to create abundance. And like you just explained, you find the positive side, because you elevate your soul even though you were homeless. So maybe your soul throw you through that path for you to learn some aspect of you.
Exactly.
So things happen for a reason. And my point is, the old story is to get trapped in the trauma and the bad experiences. And if we look at it from the soul level, we learn something, but then you choose another path where you want to, do something different and not have the same experience, because you already move on.
I think everybody should experience homelessness at least once in your life. It'll completely change your perspective on your existence for the good.
No, I agree. I went from paycheck to food stamps, and and that's what I'm saying. I was with PS, with post-traumatic stress for 3 years, and I got engaged in the negativity and blaming and the system of this and that. But then I learned that I was trapped in the negativity, and I learned to untrap myself. And that's why I'm saying this, because the moment you shift your thinking, you create a completely different reality.
Look at the alternate view. It appears to me that most are clinging on to what they think they own, when the fact of the matter is, we don't own anything. You just think you do.
And we don't take it with us.
Exactly. We're just passing through.
Yeah, but what you take with your with us? What do you take? Your experiences?
Correct.
Yes.
Here's a quote, one of my favorite quotes. Forget safety. Live where you fear to live. Destroy your reputation. Be notorious. Anybody?
That sounds familiar.
I think I have to question that. Sometimes, yeah, we have to destroy our way out of a bad situation. Madness is a kind of a gift sometimes to break out of something, but at the same time, since I've explored different paths in my life, I do have preferences for not going too crazy. Realizing that as long as my body is my companion or I am it needs certain things, and so do I. So I do like my creature comforts, but I totally get what you're saying about homelessness. I think living in the Sequoia would be a paradise for however long you want to do it. Because what do you see? You see these beautiful trees. You smell just the smells, and just not having schedules and clocks and times burning down on you and phones that have to be answered. My happiest moments and my most enlightening have been when I've been able to travel for periods of time, long periods of time. That is the best possible thing for me. So yeah, I stepping out of this, but I do. I have to put certain limits on things, or I've gone too far in some of those directions sometimes.
Yeah, I can relate.
Yeah, I think but to sit in there and be afraid to, disturb whatever it is because of your habits. That's kind of the family situation I came in. It was like living in this straitjacket, and finally I just kind of exploded. The pieces went all over the place.
Well, you seem well put together.
How many people do you think can say they've hiked the Pacific Crest Trail from beginning to end?
Where is it?
See what I'm saying? Where is it? Somebody said. That's what somebody said to me when I was trying to. Not too long ago, I was. They wanted me to fill out some paperwork to rent a place, and I said I don't have too much to offer you. I don't have credit. I don't. I was perfectly honest with them, and they said, "Well, where you been?" And I said, "Oh, you know where the Pacific Crest Trail is?" He said, "No." I said, "Well, look it up. Get on Google. You can pull it right up. Pacific Crest Trail starts here in San Diego in Campo and goes all the way to Oregon.
Wow.
Through the Sequoias, through Yosemite, all up through Lake Tahoe area. And for that matter, how many people can say they've gone from the entire length of the Baja Peninsula back and forth?
Whoa.
I've done it 3 times.
Wow.
And by car?
That's what I call being homeless. Traveling. I'm not. We talked about this on a couple of calls prior to this about why anybody in their they're probably not in their right mind. Why anybody would be homeless in South Central Los Angeles is beyond me. And again, I don't call it homelessness. I just call it houseless. I didn't really want to have a house. When I lost, I had all that stuff. I had more than most will ever accumulate, And then once it all ended, I realized I never owned it in the first place, And it was I'm just paying on a mortgage, basically just paying rent on a house for 30 years. I mean, there were some good things that came out of it. I raised my children there, and that was the best part. You know, they had a great place to grow up. But once it was all over, I wasn't going to get back into any of that stuff, you know. And one day I just packed the car up with camping gear, and that's when I had a car. And I drove the entire length of Baja twice, back and forth. And one time I did it just with a backpack. And,
wow.
You know, can take air-conditioned buses, trains, you know, hitchhike. I mean, that's when you really learn about life. That's where your true experiences are, you know. Just my opinion.
Never underestimate Jim. Wow,
Where's
fantastic, Jim.
Where was that quote from, or who were you quoting there, Jim?
Yeah, I meant to say that is from someone called Rumi. I see people post a lot of his or her quotes. I'm not sure who it actually is, but I've kept a book of quotes, and after we got into this discussion, that jumped right out at me. And you know, think about that. I always thought that's a great way to exist. That's a great way to live your life. It really is.
Outside the box.
Oh, definitely outside the box. Here's another one. Some of you might have heard this. The more real you get, the more unreal it's going to get. That was a quote to Muhammad Ali from John Lennon.
Oh.
I know what he means,
Well,
too. I think all of us know what he means.
What he was going through.
That's the whole point. Is like, I'm 56. Imagine since the moment you're born, they show you life isn't this way. It's almost like a production line. You need to do this, you need to do that, and
Programming.
and you know, yeah, programming, and then the kids, they don't have a chance to discover that untouched soul, you know, because it's true. It's the kids nowadays are incredible. They know everything since young, and some kids are so strong they don't want to follow the rules of the school. And I think this is important what you're saying, you know. You were a strong soul. You didn't go trapped in, you know, and the alcoholism, or people take drugs, they lose everything, they go into depression, they get lost.
Yeah, I figured that out a long time ago. I haven't done drugs or meds of any kind for 45 years. You know, I dabbled in it a little bit back in the 70s. You know, who didn't? You know, but
yeah, like you know, I drive, go to work. I wake up at 4 something in the morning, and you see the guys with the cardboard on the corner asking for money. But that's also a program. And this is what another thing we have to change, because when you really are connected, you want to do things. You want to be happy. Like you find solutions with nothing. You had nothing, but you were able to travel 3 times that trail. That's amazing, you know?
Those street people are literally living in boxes, right? I mean, and the reason they're in South Central LA or wherever they are is because those are the places where the most people are to hit up for panhandling. Just get a few bucks.
Yeah. Hey, no offense, y'all. I got to go. This is Kenny. I'm signing off.
Night, Ken.
Okay, good night, Kenny. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
The same
you.
attitude would be the farmer with the subsidiary. Is an easy way out. Do you understand what I'm trying to say, right?
Yeah.
Of course. Sure.
So
yeah, you got a good point.
So that's the program. We have to, that breaking that program, that's how we help people,
Well, now that's the thing then. How do we approach that? How do we get people to want to change that system that they bought into, to break through and break out of that programming?
Sharing stories.
Unfortunately, Phyllis, in my opinion, I think it's going to take another 2008 type situation, which is going to shake people up, shake them to the core.
To the core.
And
because it'll be worse the next time.
I'm not saying I want to see it happen like that. I'm definitely not focusing on it to play out that way, but it's pretty inevitable. If you look at the state of the situation, state of reality today, and yeah, that's the only thing that's going to get them out of the box.
I actually, I don't know what's going to happen with Thomas and the trust. And for me, I see that new system needs to be created where everybody should have access to housing and food and everything, and a job where you're supposed to be able to pay your necessities. Why to make it so complicated? They make it complicated.
Yeah, and they continue to support people like Thomas talked about, Bezos, the guy that runs Amazon.
Yeah.
Thomas put the numbers out there of how many people that guy could feed, just from what he brings in a week.
Right.
Yeah.
But how do you get that to the average person? That's another word Thomas brings up all the time: convenience. That's why people do it. They do it out of convenience.
Oh yeah, it's a habit.
And at the same time, that Amazon's putting all the mom and pop stores out of business. They're probably already out of business. Now he's putting people like Walmart. I think Thomas just mentioned that. You go in there and the shelves are bare. Amazon is going to be a one-stop shop. They already put Sears out. Sears was in business for what, 50, 60 years?
Even longer, I think.
This is what I see. You call any company, like your phone company, like it happened to me, and there were no customer service. They were from the Philippines, AT&T. I called AAA because my daughter's car broke down and I paid the membership, and she said I didn't have membership. But this was in Southern California and we are in Northern California. When I called, they have AI. For 30 minutes, I couldn't reach anybody until I reached someone, and I said, "You're in Southern California. Why you couldn't call Northern California to verify my membership? But you have AI. You spend all this money on that." So I initiate all the case, 26 years with AAA, and I never use it. So this is what we having right now. And people has to wake up. And if anybody who is the house manage the food, you go shopping and you shop in different places to make the money, to buy all what you need. And that's the management, typical, traditional. Well, all these companies, they doing is taking our money. Nobody's doing their jobs. It's sickening. We're going into this technocratic society, but it's a complete failure. That's going to fail. I know for sure. And we are on time to stop this. So, and we have to speak out every time and speak out. This is not working. Why you have all this system?
Well,
Anyway.
I'm going to have to sign off myself. So I bid you good night and thank you, and I'll see you all next week.
All right. Thank you, Demi. I'm going to sign out too.
I'm
Are
going top of the hour.
Are we gonna talk to put the content in the website or something? How are we gonna do that?
Well, if most people, I think, have my email, they could send me things they'd like to see on the website, or we could make that a topic of discussion first thing next week, and if people bring ideas, that would be good.
Yeah, at the moment, Estella, Michael J. is uploading any information that is sent to him. So if you have something that you would like to put on the website, and there are three or four, 5 different categories or tabs, such as resources, and you can send it to myself or Phyllis, and we will get it to Michael. And the only reason it's a slow process, and the only reason is no one has stepped forward that is able to understand WordPress. I've looked at it. It's pretty difficult. I mean, it's a full-time job for someone, So I mean, I can understand why, but so in the meantime. Michael's more than happy to put things up there for the time being.
And he started some baby steps training with me.
Yeah, and it's growing. It's growing,
Good night, guys. See you
Good
next
night.
week.
Okay, everybody.
Bye, Phil.
Thanks for coming.
Bye.
Have a
Good
great
night,
week.
everybody. Thank you.
All right.
Night all.
Good night. So we is the zone, right? So
Yeah, Facebook's still running, but I don't know for how much longer. Thomas has mentioned this for 6 months. Facebook's just getting ridiculous, and a lot of people, like Eric hasn't been on a call for 3 or 4 weeks, and I used to keep in touch with him by way of Facebook Messenger, and he doesn't even answer back. So I don't think he uses it at all. But it probably will come to that. Facebook's getting really, really wacky.
It is.
But
okay,
we'll
have a
prepare.
good week.
We'll have backups. So no problem for us.
Yeah. Have a good week.
Okay, everybody. Thank you very much for coming.
I think I'm going to read this thing of the trust. Maybe that helps.
Yeah, any information we can bring to the call on the nonprofit setup, I think is probably most important at this point. At least we'll have that set up, and who knows, maybe the funding will be released.
Okay.
Because we all have these great ideas, and they're just sitting there waiting to be implemented.
Be all safe, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Bye, Pam.
Bye-bye.